The ego runs deep, and it runs in many directions. It could deceive you in so many different ways. There's no one way for the ego. It's wide and broad. And this should just deceive you in all kinds of ways. That's why God said that pathway is straight and narrow. And a lot of people don't understand what that means either. And they're being deceived. It's so unfortunate, but they are being deceived. One example of that, and this is, I'm not trying to tell you who to vote for, who to love, or who not to love. But this example really, really bothered me in that it was so deceiving to a lot of people. And I believe it caused a lot of damage, and it would cause a lot of damage for a long time. Last week, Oprah Winfrey, you know who she is? Anybody don't know who she is? Okay, Oprah. She's a talk show host. She's a black woman out there. She was being interviewed by BBC, British Broadcast Company, and she was asked about racism. She was asked about Obama, and the interviewer asked if she thought that, amongst many things, if she thought that the people who disagree with Barack Obama were doing it because they are racist. Is it because of his color? And she's like, yes, it is. They are disagreeing with him because he is African American. And that's why they're disagreeing with him. And when I heard it, and she added more to it, I'm just making a long story short here. When she said that, it broke my heart. And the reason it did, because there are a lot of folks who respect her, who like her, who follow her, blacks and whites and others, right? And when she said that, I thought about how angry most black Americans are already. They're already filled with anger, and you're not, in that community, you're not allowed to agree with white people, to not be a part of the team of being angry. And then a lot of these kids are born out of wedlock, 73%, so you have all these babies coming with no instructions as to how to live and what to do. And for the last 50 years, black Americans, most but not all, have looked up to so-called black leadership, people that they admire, looking for answers and looking for help. And those people have used these people, weak people, for their own personal gain. And it has caused nothing but rage and anger in the black community because it encourages hatred rather than forgiveness. And I could see in my own personal life, when I had any anger at all, I wasn't a happy person. I couldn't see clearly. I wasn't at peace. And for her to do that is going to influence young black boys and girls who don't have parents or preachers or anyone to tell you that this woman was lying. That this woman just said that because she wanted to shut down disagreement with Obama. She wanted to shut down any debate. She wanted to manipulate. She wanted to intimidate for her own personal gain. And those young kids that heard that, those kids who are already doing knockouts to white folks, you heard about that, right? And for those who haven't, you have black teenagers, so far it seems to be mostly males, going around the country and just walking up to white people, men and women, and knocking them out in the streets. Some people are dying from it because they're hitting their heads on the sidewalks and all that kind of stuff. And they're laughing about it and everything. And they feel justified in doing it because for the last 60 years or so, they, from generation to generation, have been taught that the white man is the enemy. White people are the enemy, and now there's nothing but pure hatred out there for white Americans from black folks. And it comes from broken homes and encouragement from so-called leadership, black leaders and folks in positions like Oprah. And I say that there's no way that you could love what's right, that you could be of God and do that to another generation of people, to anyone, period, but to generation of people, to encourage them to hate like that. Every president that I'm aware of have always been criticized. The public go after them, call them names and whatever. Obama is not the only president folks have disagreed with. And if you want to compare how badly they're doing him, look at what happened to President Bush. They are mild with Obama as compared to President Bush. I didn't hear anyone say that they were going after him because he was, they were racist. No one said that. But they did him awful. And for her to do that is absolute evil. It really, really got to me when I heard her say that. I don't know how she can live with herself encouraging that kind of hatred between the races, knowing what anger can do and what it's going to do between blacks and whites, especially young black folks. Last year, the year before, we had black kids going into white folks' establishment of businesses, robbing them, taking stuff, even with the cameras there, broad daylight. And the unfortunate thing is that white Americans are so paralyzed by fear of being called racist, nothing is being done about it. And it's only going to get worse before it gets better because whites are afraid. And when you're afraid, you bring out the worst of your enemy. It really got to me for her to do that. Because I work with these folks all the time. These people are angry. And they hate white Americans. If anybody can be racist, they are. But it's encouraged by the top leadership. Because these folks don't have it in them to think for themselves. They don't have wisdom. They can't see what's going on. They're physical people in all that they do. And it's unfortunate. That's why we got to wake up. Somebody got to start telling the truth because it's not going to get better. I started to say I wouldn't want to be white in America today. Because you can be attacked at any point, anywhere, anytime. And then you're afraid to speak up. That's just even worse. And you have people like Oprah encouraging that kind of stuff. This is not new what she did. It's been going on for years. When I was younger, listening to Louis Farrakhan and Jackson, the same thing was being said, except that the media didn't report it at all then. And now it's being exposed, and still nobody's doing anything about it. I know Oprah's popular. I know she has a little money, but she's not God. If she's wrong, she's wrong. And it would be good for her soul to let her know she's wrong. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't put anybody before the truth. I don't care how popular they are. I don't care how much money they have. The truth is what makes us free, not just stuff that's happening in our society today. Can you imagine we have human beings going around the earth and just attacking other human beings, innocent women and children and adult men, and just knocking them out, in some cases killing them, and they laugh about it? They're standing there making a joke about it. They're not feeling any pain about it at all. I think even some animals feel bad when they kill you, don't they? But these people are worse than animals. But that's what anger would do. It would do that to you. It's totally just, you have no feeling for anything. Isn't that something? Yeah, Jesse, that's something else. Yes, sir.
I see it the way you see it. I'm looking at also another angle of what's causing that, and that's identification. I think a lot of people that voted, a lot of black Americans that voted for Obama because he simply was black.
Of course.
And they identify with Obama. Here you have, he was their champion, and they identify with him. So any criticism that they make towards Obama, they feel it.
That's right. They feel the pain of it. It's as though you're
right.
talking about that person individually.
Yes. So if you call him an incompetent whatever, it irks them.
Yeah.
And
that's a very good point.
Yeah. And
I have, in counseling, I've dealt with men and women who, if I mention their parents, like you had evil parents, they get mad as though I said they were evil. Like as though I said, you are an evil person, right? I only said your parents was wrong. Here's what they did. But they're so identified, so much a part of. And I understand that because when I was into the black thing and had anger and mad at white Americans, you said anything about black people, I didn't have to know them or anything. It was as though you said it about me. You were a racist. You deserve death.
And I'm saying that too because I had that too
Yeah.
growing up as a Latino or Hispanic. You know what I mean? I identified with certain champions out there, and then when they criticized them, I felt it.
Right.
Now, and realizing,
Hold the
Jesus,
mic like this.
and realizing Jesus' scripture that there is no Jew, Gentile, or Hebrew, or
Yeah.
whatever have you in Christ, and that's a great sin.
That is such a powerful
the pride
point.
of race.
That's a very
Right.
powerful point. And I didn't know this until it happened to me. Once you truly, when you're born again of the Spirit of God, race vanish. Male and female vanish. You start to see the spirit of what's going on. Not that you don't see the physical person as a male or the woman as a woman, but you see the spirit that drives those people. It is so weird. You just see it. You just know it and you just see it. And you don't hate it. You have compassion. You want to help. You just see it. There is no, when you're born again, there is no male or female. There is only good and evil. It's only that. In reality, that's all we have. That's why you must be born again. And angry people, if you have anger, you have not been born again. That's why you're in and out, you're up and down, you're racing around, you're doing this and doing because you haven't been born again. You can't encourage hatred when you're born again. You can't go along with what's wrong when you are born again. You don't judge yourself when you're born again. You know of yourself you can't do anything when you're born again. It's not necessary to cheat folks when you're born again. Lies, it just all vanishes away when you're born again. The problem is it's so hard to get people to, and I'm going to show you something in a minute here, but it's hard to get people to that place where they can be born again, where it can happen, where you can just enter in. And just be like the young lady said earlier, I changed. I live my life now. I'm not the same person. You do change, and you don't go in and out of it. You can't be angry today and happy tomorrow and think you're born again. An angry person yesterday, and that person is happy today is still that angry person from yesterday. It's just a mood change, that's all. But nothing else did. It's time to wake up. It's time to be born again. It's time to tell the truth because Satan is having a field day. He really is. For her to do that and people like that to do that, and again, I don't care who you voted for. I'm just talking about the spirit of what's going on. It's bad, folks. It is bad and it's getting worse. And while you're running around, and I'm not yelling at anybody in the office, in this meeting, but while you're running around making a little money and thinking you're important, you're losing it. I know people who have no idea what's happening in this country. Some people don't even know about socialized health care. I'm like, do you support socialized Obamacare? They're like, what is that? I'm like, don't you listen to the radio or something at some point? They're like, yeah, but I don't listen to stuff like that. I listen to the things I'm interested in, like how to eat or exercise and all that kind of crap. We are losing it. And I have to tell you, not all, but even the average Christian cannot be trusted. They only like you up until a certain point. They like you as long as you're dealing with politics and you agree on politics or disagree on politics. They like you as long as you're talking about somebody else. Point out their fault, it's over. It's gone. And not all, but you got to be born again. You must be born again. And I want to, tell you how to be born again. In that, point out how to be born again. Because you can be born again. You can have the Spirit, live by the Spirit. You can do that. It can happen. Of yourself, you can't do it, but it can happen to you.